What up, friends? I guess we're all just terminally down horrendous, huh? But today we're going to be reviewing We Are Scientists' newest record, Huffy. This is the 7th album from the indie rock band, coming after their 2018 album Megaplex. We Are Scientists are just consistently solid. Their last two records coming after TV en Francais, they've been good, but they haven't really matched the greatness of their first few records, I think. However, Huffy sees them returning to their roots a bit, becoming more energized and kind of recapturing what made their earlier material so much fun. We immediately start off with the banger, You Lost Your Shit. It has those classic We Are Scientists indie riffs, along with some pop-punk influences as well. The drums that come in during that first chorus are punchy as hell, and those vocals are just sugary sweet. It's fast-paced, but also melodic, and these guys just do that like no other. Lyrically, it's coming from a very similar angle that you might find on Barbara, dealing with relationship struggles and how the two parties involved are just kind of pushing their problems under the rug and just kind of blaming each other for being crazy. With Contact High, those riffs continue, although with a bit more added bass presence this time around. Anthemic and pompous guitars are a great contrast to the very light and free chorus, proving once again how We Are Scientists are just a master of the chorus. I like that sort of off-kilter guitar picking during the second verse, and those subtle keys are also a highlight. This is just a simp anthem, just funnily describing how Keith would be honored to just be in the presence of the person he's into. We have a bit of an alternative indie pop banger with Handshake Agreement, opting for super funky guitar, bass, and very bouncy vocals. It actually ends up sounding like something you'd hear on TV en Francais. It really stands out in the tracklist with those harmonious background vocals, giving it sort of a pace breaker feeling. Lyrically, it also deals with the relationship problems, although more so in a breach of trust, and how Keith trusts all your friends, just not with my money, and how they can't rely on a handshake agreement in this relationship. The lead single, I Cut My Own Hair, is probably the closest we'll get to the With Love and Squalor sound. It totally has those post-punk revival influences with that huge bass presence and those almost like shouted vocals at times. The erratic guitar is super fun and kind of encapsulates the stress that we were all feeling during the COVID lockdowns, also addressing how artists were just kind of expected to still be creating without a thought to their feelings and how they're dealing with all the stress. I mean, obviously, specific indie artists couldn't really make a living without creating, but, they deserve their time off too. There's an anthemic sounding beat on Just Education and some interesting guitar leads as well, almost taking the front and center stage in place of the vocals at times. Keith just croons about indecisiveness in his partner and how their past experiences and hardships should be treated as learning experiences. Those twinkling synths give the song a groovy and elegant energy that really isn't matched by any other track on the record. It also has the catchiest hook in existence in that cowbell, like goddamn. With Sentimental Education, there's an interesting little bongo intro before we get to the slick and laid-back bass lines and riffs. It largely follows similar topics and instrumentals as the previous song, however, it also adds the additional message of people not communicating properly with each other and how that leads to most of their problems. The lighter instrumentation with the piano and sort of sing-songy chorus have a very playful and unique vibe compared to a lot of the other songs on the album. In addition, it also has a subtle desperate nature to it, kind of hamming home how just this relationship isn't working out. Fault Lines is probably the hardest song on here because they're going for a sort of modern Black Keys sound with very bombastic riffs and drums, especially during that chorus. I feel like this one carries more frustration compared to a lot of the other songs on here, with Keith feeling like he has to walk on eggshells to avoid the relationship getting heated and just things piling on top of themselves. He also kind of wails away, saying how he wants to relive the old times when things were good and they didn't have all these problems. It does add some variety to the record, however, I will say that this one is kind of instrumentally cliche. It doesn't really feel like they're experimenting with the sound, making it their own. It just kind of feels like, here's a song like what the Black Keys do, Pandemonium is a classic We Are Scientists track with Keith's vocal cadence along with the quick and punchy guitar. It has a super infectious chorus and some nice synth moments as well on the second verse. It's just so overly dramatic with the use of pandemonium, blast zones, you name it. It's just pure fun, especially when the build up to the bridge comes around. Bought Myself a Grave is definitely the most different song on the album, going from like a country folk yeehaw hour to some like dance pop out of nowhere. It's definitely unique, but I can't say it's all too fitting, and the beat switch up is pretty jarring when the original instrumental already didn't fit the album much to begin with. There's some fun riffs, and I think the electronic portion could work, but it just needs more attention, and it also needed to be on a different project, because it just sticks out like a sore thumb here, and not in the best way. It's almost like a parody of a modern country song, which is amusing, but not amusing enough to appear on the record, I feel. Behavior Unbecoming is a pretty elegant closing track with very lush and full guitar and synth patterns. The bass line is also pretty slick. The track in general just has this sort of glistening sheen over it. The lyrics are also a pretty amusing moment of clarity for Keith here, as he's just realizing that his relationship really isn't doing the best, and how they need to figure out whatever this is. Compared to some of We Are Scientists' previous safe yet solid records, this one feels like a noticeable moment of fresh air in terms of its energy. I think it did a really great job in combining a lot of the older sounds that they've experimented with, especially on the With Love and Squalor and Barbara sounds, while also giving it its own sort of atmosphere and vibe to make it stand out among their discography. I would like to see them get a bit more experimental. I mean, this is very much a We Are Scientists record. If you already like the band, you kind of know what to expect. However, it was a very solid listen, and I think they should just keep applying their formula to other genres and kind of see what works. I'm feeling a decent 8 on this new album by We Are Scientists. Pretty good. Now, of course, we do have to talk about album covers on this show, and this is an odd album cover to judge because it's one of those ones where it comes with stickers, and you just kind of make your own album cover. The default album cover that you see on streaming services, it's I like the idea conceptually. However, compared to Beck's, like what he did with the information and stuff like that, it's noticeably more amateurish, I think. The sort of two halves to the wall just doesn't really look that good compared to the grid paper aesthetic that the Beck record had. I do like the little cutesy stickers. They're a very tongue-in-cheek band, so this sort of aesthetic fits them. I just think it could have been done a little bit better. But of course, those were my thoughts about the new We Are Scientists record. What do you guys think? Is this kind of a return to form for the band, finally getting out of their slump and making some interesting stuff? Or is it just kind of business as usual for you? Let me know. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Ring the bell if you want me to become a scientist. You can pay my student loans. And until the next one, farewell.